Hi friends, I hope you're doing really well. This is Tracy Brown and my team and I of non-diet dietitians. We provide eating disorder and breaking free from chronic dieting and body image issues support, especially to help you feel safer in your body and to be your own nutrition expert. That was a mouthful. I never say the same thing every time, so my apologies. I really just try to do these videos and be authentic and just speak to what I hear people are struggling with in the most nuanced way I can. So this is actually a pretty deep topic. And so in Monday's video, we started with like the reality is that most people who feel like that their bodies are a problem kind of are convinced that it's because they're eating wrong. It's they're addicted to food or addicted to something. When reality is it's more of a process thing, and it's more to do with trying to change our state of a threat response kind of feeling to, it's never happiness, it's not joy, it's not freedom, it's just less bad, all right? And some of the programming obviously is this overcoupling dynamics we have around like if I eat the food and then I got criticized, it must be the food that caused the criticism, not that the person doing the criticizing is at fault, not you or your body. So we talked about that in Monday's video, and just really being able to use that process with yourself every single day, every meal if you have to, will really help you bring a lot of compassion to your circumstance. So in this video, I want to talk about, well, what happens when you start, like for real, all right, I'm really going to do what the intuitive eating books say is to like not diet. Okay, I'm really going to like give myself full permission to eat, which is I'm going to try not to sneak eat. I'm going to try to like not Last Supper syndrome eating. I'm really going to like, if I want this is what I'm going to have. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It doesn't matter what other people think. It's like, I have a body need here. And this isn't a video to talk about like, you know, sometimes we do emotionally eat and it's not out of biological. Sometimes we emotionally eat. There's no biological hunger. We just want to eat the enjoyable food, and that's okay. But most of the time when we're talking about these videos, what we're talking about is, you know, we're eating or not eating based on trying to change your nervous system state and again, feel less bad. So one of the hardest things when we first start trying to do something different, when you finally have recognized, oh, wow, there's an option, I have a choice. And I know that always blows away my clients that they've never heard their whole lives that, yeah, you have an option not to hate your body. You have an option not to diet. Now, does that mean that your life is always easy? Of course not. I mean, it would be easier for me and everybody in every size body, especially for people in larger bodies. It was so much easier if we could just swallow our morality and pretend like these things don't bother us. But it does. It hurts our hearts. It hurts our souls. It's like, I can't participate in this anymore. That I have to feel like that my value and worth is based on what you think about my body or my food. It gets weird. I mean, it feels like it's like acid, you know, on your soul, and you can't do it anymore. So that's where most people come, and they're like, how did I not know this? I'm like, it's not your fault. The programming, for most people, there's a few very, very fortunate people that are raised up, you know, to like, people come in all shapes and sizes, you know, and to help, you know, they were raised to have in relational safety. That's a rare person, you know. So most of us have some kind of programming about surviving social situations versus being knowing how to be with the right people that are good for us. Basically, we're not very good at it because we're not raised that way, right? So a part of this is when you stop dieting, and even mental, you know, maybe you don't like calorically restrict, but you do a lot of mental restricting. I shouldn't have eaten that. What do people think about that? Maybe I won't eat that much for dinner. Maybe you don't listen to that, but you still feel all that up in your system. When you actually challenge those things, and like, all right, even if I have those thoughts, I'm still going to eat, you know, a plate of food that I really enjoy, most of the food groups, and this is what I wanted. When you start doing that, what's going to happen? Whether you have a restrictive orientation coming in to doing that or you don't, it's more just, it's not physical restriction, it's more mental restriction, feeling guilty, basically. Your emotions are going to feel big. And that's the number one reason when people come to see us and they're not fully, even if you give them all the heads up, some people just aren't They're ready. They're like, okay, one last diet, and then I can do intuitive eating. Or like, oh, well, once I get married, then I can do it. Or whatever the reasons are that aren't true or congruent. It feels like we're just not ready, right? And so what happens is, people they start to eat more food, and the first couple days, the first couple weeks, I would say, maybe by week 3, by week 5, it feels like, oh, what's breaking loose, because it's like, oh, the container. And this is the point I'm getting to this video. One of the reasons we're so addicted to programs is that once we don't have a program, we don't have the same container to suppress and reject and deny all the hurts that we've maybe have experienced. It might have to do with food and body image or health. It might have nothing to do with it, and it just got overcoupled. But the reality is now we're faced with, we got to deal with our reality. We've got to deal with all this unprocessed stuff, because the body, we all know the book title, the body keeps the score, the body remembers. Yeah, we remember these things that we had. There was no safe space for it to be verbalized, to be worked through. And so we just shove it down. We just shove it down. I'm going to put an infographic below this video so you can see what I'm talking about. The body is the container. The point of this is why we get so addicted to like, oh gosh, like I'm thinking and feeling, and I'm feeling more bad, basically. After I stop dieting or binging, what is that all about? It's like, well, now you're actually feeling the authenticity of all the things you've suppressed. Nothing's wrong with you. This is a good opportunity if we allow it to be, if we don't shove it back down. And most of the time at this point, I'm always encouraging people like, look, this first little bit of freedom is going to be awesome. And then stuff's going to start happening. So we need to start to build your life and build some more resources and really be ready. And we can get through this. I've got your back. You're going to have your back. We're going to build some other good stuff in here that helps you. But the reality is that we have to have a container for all this. And practically, sometimes containers look like people aren't dieting. But we need to make sure that there's like a structure to make sure that we're eating regularly. For some people, that's an actual meal plan. For some people, it's just kind of a plate method. For some people, it's just making sure they're eating every 3 to 4 hours. That's not a diet. That's just containing like what I'm doing with the food. Because I'm so brainwashed to think that my body doesn't know how to do anything. I don't feel my sensations normally anymore. I don't trust myself. What do? So we need a container of some level of expectancy with food, okay? That's just so important. So even if you're watching this, like, oh, I'm an emotional eater, I'm a binge eater, I don't restrict. It's like every people's food that I've ever looked at for almost 20 years, it's like there's a lot of chaos with the eating. So we want to eliminate some of the chaos by like eating regularly, not pushing off meals, not like making food like an afterthought in your day. Like, again, still really eating with permission and asking yourself what you want and getting nourishment, not just with food, but in all kinds of ways. That also is a container. All right. So I hope this helps you. The reason that people go back to dieting when they even aren't on a diet is because they don't recognize that all this stuff is going to come up and it's normal. It's good because on some level, some of the stuff is coming up. There is some little bit of some level of safety enough to be able to like remember what's in there to be remembered. Some people like you start eating and none of this stuff comes up till later because it's had to be so farly back compartmentalized. So either way, I just want to put that out there too, that it makes sense why we would go back to it if we don't have something to hold on to and to have us. Something it's got our back as we get clarity, as we get clear about how to reach out into our environment and get our needs met without threat. And as also we're able to learn how to take in what we need and get satisfied by it. That's a whole process. And lots of other things are going to pop up in the midst of all that we just need to be prepared for. If you're not prepared for it, you're probably going to go back to what you know, which is, emotional under or overeating. And this video is just kind of giving you a heads up that if you're going in this process, or you've been in this process for a while, but you kind of like maybe, I don't know, just not felt like you had enough support. This is just a reminder that we need a container. Otherwise, we will go back to what we know. We'll go back to what our nervous systems feel the most familiar with, even if it's bad for us, like restricting or binging or purging or, health anxiety or whatever it is, we'll go back to what's familiar, avoidance, with people or food or whatever, versus like, what do I need right now? That inside feels like too much or not enough. It's not the food, it's not my body, what's too much, okay? And if we don't have a container for that, we're gonna go back to our default things, all right? So I would love to hear from you. If you put in the comments below, what are you recognizing that, wow, like XYZ is overcoupled with my food to help me change my state. I'm getting that now. And what does that need? And of course, if you don't want to put that here, I get it. But, reach out to me privately, or just have it in your quiet time with yourself. Like, oh, I see how that's overcoupled, and we need to separate that so that this is, my food needs are here and my needs over here are this. And, that's what that part of me inside needs. It doesn't need the container of the food. It's not really the issue. That's just what I'm used to. So thank you all so much for hanging in there with these really complex topics. But the reality is that recovery is hard. And if we can't make some congruent, that makes sense, meaning of the thoughts and the feelings we have that aren't congruent with how food works, that's not congruent with our adult capability to make choices about who we believe, who we allow to speak into our lives. Do we take seriously what everybody says, or is that just what I'm used to? If we're not prepared for that, it can feel like we're never going to get anywhere. Like it's just taking longer. If it feels like it's taking longer than it should, or you're missing something, it could be that that's true. I mean, this is a process, and nobody gets in and out of this like a diet program. Again, we're all programmed to want programs. You know how I talk about that a lot, is that people do come to us still programmed to think, oh, all right, cool. I'll just stop binging and get over this in 12 weeks and go on with my life. And I wish it was like that. Definitely, I wish that I had created some kind of patent for like, here's your pill, no food trauma. You don't care what people think. You've got good, healthy attachments. You're set. You don't care what people, what the world's saying. I wish I had that pill for us all. But unfortunately, we're tasked with, doing, I guess, kind of raising ourselves in some kind of way, and it's easier when we have support along the way to do it. So that's what I'm hoping these videos are helpful for. And if you need a little bit more one-on-one attention to these aspects, we're happy to help. So thanks so much for watching. I will see you in next week's videos. Bye for now.